There's been a lot of buzz lately about inner city rail in southeast Florida, with the success of Brightline and its brand new service to Orlando, with a lot of people referring to it as proof that a private company can do transit better than the government, and then even more people who are upset about how much the tickets cost. But what if I told you that the region already has a publicly owned, inexpensive commuter rail that connects all the major cities in the three big counties, and that provides excellent service, yet gets very mediocre ridership? This is car-dependent South Florida. It sounds like there's no way it could exist. But it does, and it's called Tri-Rail. So in this video, I want to describe exactly what Tri-Rail is, a little bit of its history, why it struggles to maintain ridership, a little bit about its future plans, and ways that they can improve the system. Tri-Rail is a regional commuter rail connecting Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach counties, operated by the South Florida Regional Transportation Authority, or SFRTA, which is an agency in charge of inter-county public transportation, coordinating with the transit agencies of the three counties. It currently goes from Jupiter in the north down to the Miami International Airport in the south, and will terminate at Miami Central Station in downtown Miami by the end of 2023 or early 2024. It connects most of the major cities in between, like West Palm Beach, Boca Raton, Pompano Beach, Fort Lauderdale, Hollywood, and Hialeah. The original line and stations were all built in the 1920s, with an inner-city line opening in 1927 as part of the Seaboard Airline Railroad, connecting it all the way up to New York City. While this service, called the Orange Blossom Special, was terminated in 1953, the line was still used by Amtrak's Silver Star and Silver Meteor trains. The line was killed by the development of major highways in South Florida, with I-95 running literally right next to the tracks, and the creation of the Florida Turnpike about a mile to the west. However, in 1983, the state of Florida came up with plans to widen both highways, and were worried that during the construction period they would be unable to deal with commuter traffic. By 1986, they had determined that to ease traffic, they would restore passenger rail service on this line. 4 of the current stations, the West Palm Beach, Deerfield Beach, Fort Lauderdale, and Hollywood stations, are the same exact stations used in the 1920s by Seaboard. On May 1st, 1990, Tri-Rail opened with round trips having a fare of $4. Remember, this was supposed to be a temporary solution just while the highways were being widened, but they had such high ridership of about 8,000 weekday daily riders, or about 2.5 million passenger trips per year, that they decided to make it permanent. From the opening in the 90s until 2009, the service was expanded on north from West Palm Beach to Jupiter, and south from Hialeah to the Miami airport, and improved until it became what it is today, operating 50 daily trains on a line about 71 miles long with 18 stations. Its ridership grew from the original 2.5 million annual passenger trips to about 4.5 million by 2008, where it's held pretty steady ever since. The pandemic definitely put a dent in the numbers, but it's already recovered to about 4 million annual passenger trips as of 2023. So why has ridership not grown since the mid-2000s? Well, it's about the land use around the stations. As opposed to the FEC corridor, which goes through the older, denser, more walkable downtowns of all these cities, Tri-Rail runs about a mile to the west, on the wrong side of I-95, with the areas around the stations being much more suburban or industrial in nature. While some of the stops in Palm Beach County and Miami-Dade County have okay surrounding land uses, like Boca Raton Station being in decent distance of some big office and research park, most look like the Fort Lauderdale Station, sandwiched between I-95 and one of its on-ramps, with single-family homes and warehouses being the only things in comfortable walking distance to it. While the region as a whole has boomed in population, reaching nearly 7 million total people between the three counties, almost none of this growth has occurred within walking distance of Tri-Rail. So what exactly is Tri-Rail doing to address the lack of growth in ridership? I mentioned earlier that Tri-Rail is actually extending down to Miami Central in downtown Miami, connecting it to the FEC tracks where Brightline currently operates. This not only provides a huge link, but also gives commuters a one-seat ride to the major employment center of downtown Miami. The biggest boost, however, is coming in the form of the Coastal Link, where the three counties are negotiating track access agreements with the FEC and Brightline to create a second commuter rail line on the FEC, which actually runs through all the dense, walkable downtowns in southeast Florida. Miami-Dade County's portion is called the Smart Plan Northeast Corridor, and is already in PD&E, with stations planned for Miami Central, Wynwood, Design District, Little Haiti, North Miami, FIU North Campus, and Aventura. Broward County's portion is called Broward Commuter Rail, and while it struggled to get off the ground because the county and Fort Lauderdale are fighting over how to cross the New River and are forcing the project to be done in 2 parts, the ultimate plan is for there to be stations in downtown Hollywood, the Hollywood Fort Lauderdale International Airport, Broward Health Medical Center, downtown Fort Lauderdale, Oakland Park, downtown Pompano Beach, and Deerfield Beach. The southern part has funding and is going through PD&E, and the northern half will get started once the county decides how to cross the river by early 2024. Palm Beach County is unfortunately a bit behind the other two, with no concrete plans in place, but previous studies have identified suitable station areas at Meisner Park in Boca Raton, downtown Delray Beach, downtown Boynton Beach, downtown Lake Worth, 3 different stations in West Palm Beach, and then Riviera Beach, Lake Park, Palm Beach Gardens, and Jupiter. There would also be new track built to connect the FEC corridor to the existing Tri-Rail corridor within West Palm Beach and Pompano Beach, so you don't have to go all the way down to downtown Miami to change lines. Previous studies expect this new line to basically double Tri-Rail's ridership to 9 million annual passengers, but after seeing the success of Brightline and the continued development in these downtowns, I expect ridership to be much greater. There's also an exciting new development where CSX has come under new management and is open to negotiating with Miami-Dade County to bring commuter rail to their freight lines in Miami-Dade, opening up 3 possible extensions: south to Homestead, southwest to the Hammocks, and west to Doral and Sweetwater. Huge thanks to @TrainTendo on Twitter, never calling it X, for making this map of the possible new lines should Miami-Dade and CSX come to an agreement. Of course, all these extensions and new lines are great and would be enormous, not just for boosting Tri-Rail's ridership, but also for giving a lot more people the option to take a train rather than a car for a lot of daily trips. But what about the current existing Tri-Rail line that's basically been stuck with mediocre ridership? What can be done to help it grow as well? Well, it comes down to land use. The zoning around a lot of these Tri-Rail stations basically only allows low-density residential and limited industrial and commercial uses, not exactly helping bring people to the stations. Additionally, FDOT and the cities are of the belief that most people using the train would come and park their cars at the station before taking the train, mandating huge park and ride lots and garages at the stations, along with high minimum parking requirements for development around them. It's a fact that the more parking that is provided near transit, the more people will drive rather than use the transit, and park and rides don't provide the same ridership base as stations in mixed-use urban areas. So my suggestion to FDOT, the counties, and the cities is, first, implement a new zoning category for real transit-oriented development within a half mile of the stations. It sucks that I-95 basically eliminates half of the station areas, but the other half is still very valuable space to be putting high-density, mixed-use developments with little parking. If we want people to use the stations, we should be putting everything near them to make it as appealing as possible. You should be able to live in an apartment building near one station, take the train, and basically stumble off the train into an office building or restaurant that's in walking distance of that new station. The vast majority of transit trips start as walking or biking trips, not as car trips. On a personal side note, I grew up in Hollywood, within easy walking distance of the Sheridan Street Tri-Rail station. This station's a great example of what I'm talking about, because it's in walking distance of what I consider to be a great park in the TY Park, a very well-used park for kids' sports in Rotary Park, and it has the incredibly popular Yellow-Green Market, with a parking lot that is pretty expensive, but always full. But if you look closer, the rest of the area is I-95, the super wide and uninviting Sheridan Street, and a bunch of drive-through establishments. And even the Yellow-Green Market actually has no direct connection to the station, despite being literally attached. Back when I lived there, my family had a favorite coffee shop close to downtown Hollywood and City Hall Circle. We'd actually bike from our house near TY Park, across Sheridan, down North Park Road, and then turn to go through Rotary Park, crossing Johnson Street and going through Stan Goldman Memorial Park, which exits directly onto the Hollywood Tri-Rail station, and then turn east to go down to Hollywood Boulevard. The Hollywood station is yet another good example of poor land use, with the highway on one side, the underutilized Stan Goldman Memorial Park, and the Orangebrook Golf Course, with single-family homes and a strip mall anchored by Publix in the one area that has the best access to the station. Why are we continuing to invest hundreds of millions of dollars in maintaining and improving this rail service if we don't allow the density for people to actually live close by? One option here is to develop the stations themselves. This is Miami Central Station. The station itself has shops, restaurants, offices, and apartments. This is what stations in other cities around the world look like, from Tokyo and Hong Kong to New York. The government owns huge amounts of land underneath and around the stations. Why not lease the land to a developer to build apartments, offices, and shops, and use the revenue to invest in transit? Interestingly, the main planning agencies for the counties, which are the Palm Beach TPA, Broward MPO, and Miami-Dade TPO, already suggest this in all of their planning documents. They even add that this TOD would help alleviate our housing crisis, both by providing a ton of housing supply, but also by reducing transportation costs for the people living there. SFRTA, the Tri-County Governmental Agency and operator of Tri-Rail, has also published a request for the cities and FDOT to get TOD built within a half-mile of stations, specifically listing the qualities of good TOD as continuous pedestrian-friendly infill, an increased mix of uses, limited or no parking, and higher density, a minimum of 75 units an acre. The county, cities, and FDOT, however, haven't gotten the memo. The other suggestion is to provide better frequency. FDOT actually owns the current right-of-way, not a freight company like is the case in so many other corridors. While the service isn't bad for a commuter rail line with half-hour peak frequencies and hourly frequencies at off-peak, the truth is for ridership to really grow, it has to shift from being a commuter rail to being an inner-city rail. I used it this last weekend with my friends at Better Streets Broward, and even on a Saturday morning and afternoon, not exactly peak commuter time, there were plenty of people using it. A lot of people near the stations are using it for non-commuting trips, and there's a ton of demand for that type of service. While it costs money to buy more train sets and hire more staff, the line has more than enough capacity to increase frequencies to every 20 minutes or so. But what can you do to help? Well, in the immediate future, FDOT is about to launch a study to figure out what to do to manage transportation demand along the I-95 corridor, with the first public hearing on it occurring October 17th at 5:30 p.m. at the MLK Community Center in Hollywood, where you can tell FDOT that instead of widening I-95 even more, it might be better to invest in Tri-Rail and station area TOD to get people to take the train. You can also email your comments to them with the link down below in the description. And if you live in any of the cities that have a Tri-Rail station, you should call and email your city councilors or give public comment at City Hall to rezone the areas within a half-mile of stations for high-density, transit-oriented development and to reduce or eliminate minimum parking requirements. There are advocacy groups in all 3 counties that are already doing this work, and I highly recommend joining them in their advocacy. In Miami-Dade there are many, but in particular the Miami Transit Alliance and CNU Miami seem to have the most traction. In Broward, we have Better Streets Broward, which I'm a member of, and in Palm Beach, we have CNU of the Palm Beaches and Connect West Palm Beach. These are changes we can make basically for free, since developers want to develop properties there, and we're going to be better utilizing existing infrastructure, better than forcing everyone to drive on I-95. Until next time.